Hello, we are back. Sound design 12? Is it 12 or is it 13? I don't know. I guess that shows you how much I've been thinking about SDHO. Actually, I'm just kidding. In fact, I've actually been thinking about Sound Design Hangout quite a bit, to be perfectly honest with you. Just turning up my headphones a little bit. So, I have been thinking about Sound Design Hangout. Why? Because I've been thinking about basically sound design and something that I wanted to go over that I didn't necessarily forget about because it's like a really cool, important thing. And it talks about things that I think are very important to anyone who's designing their own sounds. And yeah, I try to cover all the different sound design synthesis methods, but let's face it, the majority of people who are making especially like dance music or any kind of like synthesizer, bass heavy music, they're probably going to be using a wavetable synthesizer. And so in Ableton Live, if we insert a MIDI track here, record, enable it, go to our instrument folder and drop wavetable. I'm going to close this panel, Command Option I. Yeah, we've got wavetables. See this panel down here? This is you morph through the wave. Very loud, going to lower that. And you've got these different types of categories of wavetables. So if you go to Formant and you go to this, you'll see there's all these different. And so what I wanted to basically show you is that sampler and also simpler, because you can use simpler in this way. There's a way to basically do wavetable synthesis in sampler. It's very unusual, and I've done it quite a lot. And if you saw this technique before or you saw me do it, I know I've said it's basically like wavetable. Sorry, I'm not getting choked up. I'm just I just brushed my teeth again. I showered, brushed my teeth for some reason. I don't know, this pop filter, or maybe it's just the allergens in the air, can kind of make me feel like I need some water. So this is happening again. I think last SDHO I was like, I will not brush my teeth before another SDHO ever again. And then I think this is literally like the next SDHO. I'll pound this whole water if I have to get through this wonderful SDHO, because we're basically going to see some sorcery, and at the very least, you're gonna know what's really interesting. Anyway, so we're going to leave this wavetable guy open here, and we're going to insert another MIDI track, and on this one, we're going to drop sampler. We could have dropped simpler, but whenever I'm using a sampling device in Ableton, which is sampler or simpler, simpler just means it's like a simple sampler, hence the cute little name. If I'm using a sampling device, I'm putting some sort of audio content in there. And if I'm primarily trying to do more sound design type stuff, I use the more robust device sampler. So we've got a sampler here, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So wavetable relies on these very complex waveforms that you can see right here. And so right now you see this yellow line. This yellow line right here, from the start over here all the way to the end right here, if you think of it linearly, that's a waveform that looks like that. And I don't know how long it is, but it's very, very short. So when we hold down a note right now, and we're in wavetable, when we hold down a note, we are hearing it being repeated very fast, basically looped. Imagine this being a loop, and this is very short. It might only be 10 milliseconds or even shorter. So we hear that, okay? And when we play this, this complex waveform, which we will call it, it's playing that over and over and over again. And if we drop a spectrum, which is in our utilities folder, you will see that what it's giving us, and I'm actually going to change this. If you turn its spectrum off of audio, you can set where you want it to be. I want it to show me plus 6 dB, and I don't want it to show me any lower than negative 40 dB. I guess there. Okay. So there we go. So what is it doing? It's giving us an E at 333 hertz, and it's giving us all of these harmonics. And so when we go in here, you will notice E. It's giving us this E note. I'm going to turn the frequencies down just so it doesn't kill our ears. And again, when you apply a filter, you are removing or attenuating these higher frequencies up here, at least when it's a low-pass filter. Okay? So if we go to tuner right here, you'll notice it's E, and you'll say, why is it not in key? Well, it's because I set mine to 432 hertz, because I'm a total hippie like that. So I'm going to detune this here. Okay. And now it's E tuned to 432 hertz. So you've got this complex waveform, but the thing I want you to know, and I think I covered this, is when I hit this note, it's E, okay? We're getting E. And when we change this, we're still getting E. Now it sounds different, but it's still E. And trust me, there's a reason why we're going over this. If I move down here, it sounds different, but it's still E. So what Wavetable does is it gives you the ability to play these very complex harmonic waveforms, and it allows you to play it, and it allows you to get that movement. Why do you want movement? Well, in any time when you're designing sounds or you're making sounds in synthesizers, they have to have modulation or movement to make them interesting. Like if all you heard, for instance, if we go back to, I'll go back to the default basic shapes here. This is just a square wave. And especially if this was all the way up, yeah, it sounds bad because it's just, so you want some movement, and then you go from that terrible sound, and you get, so that's movement with the filter. And when you move the filter, even though right now, if we cut all of these highs out, here, we lost our spectrum. You click that triangle. So we're attenuating, which means lowering all of those higher harmonics. Get that? So wavetable synthesis allows you to go in, scan these things, and you can literally you don't have to even worry about moving it or doing anything like that. But if you kind of wondered what this was, or like where these wavetables came from, well, they basically just come from audio. And I want to show you that you can actually do the same thing in sampler. And I guess before these incredibly robust wavetable software synthesizers that we're using, like Serum and Wavetable and Massive, and probably all the new synthesizers use wavetable synthesis, because you have so many options. But not only that, but you can also add in all of these different modulation parameters as well. So it's like you're almost creating like a synthesizer that can basically do almost anything. But before that, and wavetable synthesis has been around for a while, but like you would have to have like a specific hardware wavetable synthesizer. So I don't know when people started building software ones, but like you basically could, and this is basically the segue, you could have basically done the same thing in sampler, and you were a little bit limited to what you could do. But I'm just going to show you, and it's going to bridge the worlds, and you're probably just going to understand this better. And you'll learn how wavetable synthesis actually technically is really called transitory synthesis. And I pulled this from like Sound on Sound, which I don't know if you ever got into Sound on Sound. But like, yeah, it's like music producer gold or legendary type stuff. So anyways, if I come into samples, and you can get anything, like you can literally just drop a sample, it doesn't matter. As long as it's something, like I'll just throw this, like I just want something that has a lot of harmonics. So what you would do is you want to make sure you're in loop mode, which we already are. Normally, when you throw something in a sampler, it's right here. That means it's just going to play through it once, and we're going to make sure we're record enabled. But I don't care about any of this. I want to just loop a very tiny part. So I want to, okay, where are we going here? I'm going to put on link. Link allows me to like move it like this. And I want to just isolate one of these snare drums just because I know there's a lot of harmonics in here. And think of this right here. And I'm going to put it on a, like that's just a snare drum, right? And when we come back over here to wavetable, think of it like this. Okay? So I'm going to come back into here. And, well, we have to be on loop mode for this to work. Doesn't matter if you can actually change it up between these, which means loop it this way, then loop it back that way, versus like this, which means loop it here. But we really don't care about this because we want this. I'm gonna drop an auto filter on here just for ease. Take out a little bit of the highs. So hear that? It's like a synthesizer sound now. So let's move in this. Take a look at this. Okay. And by the way, we're going to go back to utilities and we're going to drop a Spectrum, our good friend Spectrum, on here. See, look, we've got our note right here. It's an A sharp. And if we adjust this bracket, we will see. And I'm playing the keys. If I want it to go lower, I just go to pitch oscillator and just, see, sounds good. We could have also dropped a MIDI effect pitch on there. So if we take a look at this, and we've got this auto filter cutting off some of the highs. And so what's good about this method is it's giving you a very harmonically rich waveform. Like you want a harmonically rich waveform because then you can use filtering to basically manipulate the brightness over time. So you can have like a, see how that went like high to low? You would put like a filter envelope on it and you would turn it into like a bass sound. Which we're not going to, like a punchy bass sound, but we're not going to do that yet because I want to bridge the worlds here. I'm going to leave it here just because otherwise it's way too bright. So we have this. So think about this right here. Think about it one-dimensionally like this guy over here. I don't like the way this waveform looks. Dark, throaty. Okay, so look at this. So imagine this little guy right here. Just this yellow line. Forget all of this multi-dimensional stuff going on. If we come back into here, it's like this. Now, the problem, remember I told you when we were in wavetable here? When we were in wavetable, I'm going to play wavetable right now. And you might say, hey, I want it to be bassier. Okay, well, that's easy. We just knock these semitones down. So right now, we've basically got the same thing. This yellow line says wherever you put me and you play a note, you're going to get this, I'll just call it multi-dimensional waveform. That's always going to be in key. That's the thing. So I can play this up here, and I've got an E. If I play it down here, I got an E. It's just different. These different waveforms, when you move it through, they're higher order harmonics are changing, but the actual note G or whatever note you're playing won't change, right? So now let's go over to sampler. And this, well, all we have is just this. Now we can go in and play with the filter. We got filtering. And because sampler's so amazing, we can come into this oscillator mode and get some FM, which we got to turn the volume up. Okay, now we got some FM. That's kind of unusual, very interesting. But yeah, we're trying to demonstrate a point. So you might say, well, what happens when you move this? We'll see that little guy changing up there, and we can do that, right? Like we can modulate this, but it changes the pitch. It doesn't change the harmonics. Now we can be changing the harmonics with the filter. But what this mode doesn't allow you to do is we can't morph through this, because this, and it will stay in key. Because if you look over here, now you can do that very subtly and you get a nice little pitch warble, and that's fine. But that is where Wavetable really shines, is that Wavetable really shines in that you get the same thing. You've got all these waveforms. You don't have to tune them. Because back what people used to do is they used to just stitch together waveforms and then like retune them all in like a sampling device. And it was actually kind of cool, and people were getting very unique sounds. But like all these like wavetable synthesizers came out and just allowed you to do all of that and more. And when you use these user wavetables, we can do the same thing. So we're going to go back into sampler here and make sure we've got our sampler track back again. And if you double click on these bars or on these clips, you go back to those corresponding tracks. Okay, so we've got this sample here, and it was a little part of a snare, part of this long thing, but I don't want that. I'm going to delete it, but I do want a sampler, so I'm going to go back and get a default sampler. And I want to show you basically Wavetable, how you would actually do Wavetable inside of Sampler. So right now you see this like complex little waveform here. No different. They're all the same. Doesn't matter which one of these you go to. It's all the same. Complex waveforms, okay? You can morph through it. It'll stay in the note you're playing. So this is, yeah. So there's a thing, and you can download this. It's called Adventure Kid Waveforms. And where did I put it? AKWF, Adventure Kid Waveforms. This dude put together all of these single cycle waveforms. So see this, how short it is? It's going to loop it when I play it. Are we on the right track? That actually sounds really good. We are. So take a listen to this. This is very short. What is this? Is each one of these a millisecond or fractions of a millisecond? So what is that? That's either 12 milliseconds or it's like a fraction thereof. So this is no different than this, except this allows you to do this, and you would actually be able to do that. So what people did is they realized if you zoomed in, so like right here, if we were to insert a MIDI track over here and we were to drop an operator and we go into these waveforms, traditional synthesizers like FM or subtractive, they either use saw waves or square waves, and you play this very basic wave. Like, look at this. Like, this is a square wave. It's well, this is what it looks like as far as the harmonic profile. But like, it's predictable, right? Like people know what like a square wave and a saw wave sounds like with like the common filter types applied to it. But no one really knows what this is going to sound like. So you have more creative possibilities. That's why like these very robust wavetable synthesizers are all the rage. But what you actually could do back in the day, and what you can do with Sampler, so if you didn't know this existed, this is going to be worth its weight in gold. So again, when I play this note, I'm getting this like lovely G note. And if I change this, it's changing the pitch, right? But I don't want that. I want to keep that nice G note. So what you would do is you would link a bunch of these together, and you could do it through doing what we did with that like snare drum. We could export out that little thing, and then we could put it into some audio editing program, and then like stitch a bunch of things together. But with this Adventure Kid waveform thing, so we put we put this thing in here, right? And so if we go back in here, I'm going to drag another one in here. So this is a different waveform. So if we click this top one, we got that first one. We click the bottom one, we got this other one. We can play them together. We're going to unclick this one. So this is just this bottom one here. So with them all deactivated, nothing with this, it's this one. So what I want to do is I want to see if they're in the same key. So I want to come back in here to spectrum, and I'm hitting a, okay. So when I hit this, I get a D note. And when I play this top one, let's see if I can close this panel. I'm getting a D as well. And what I found you can do is when you go into these zones, so I'm playing both right now, is you can you can see them both. Like, see now how it's 2 up here and it doesn't sound in key? Notice that little modulation? So if they're not completely on key, you get that nice effect. Like, how good does this sound? And we haven't even done any filtering yet. Actually, we have. I think the auto filter. Sounds pretty nice. Let's get a filter drive on there. Sounds good. So what did people do with this? Well, see these zones right here? This basically says, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to right click and I'm going to do distribute ranges equally. So right now, this little blue thing is a channel selector. If I click a note and click over here, so the top one, whenever I'm here, I'm playing this top note. And whenever I play over here, I'm playing this guy. Hear how it changes? Like, I'll even go into filter here and do this. See? So what did people do? Well, well, first of all, you could put as many of these as you could put 128 of these. But if you move these all the way over to here, I'm going to do it like this. So if I play anything down here, 0 to 8, I'm only hearing this guy. But if I play over here, I'm now starting to hear this guy down below. So listen how it changes. And then over here, it's just this. So you have these crossfaders like this. So it's different everywhere we play now. Now, what you would do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to push Command G to duplicate this, open up macros, and you can actually, we want to be in the selector panel, is you can right click on this and you can map it to macro 1, and now we can adjust this like this. And what that allows us to do, I'm just going to close this here, audio effects, modulators, LFO. Now here's why I'm probably not going to use this technique that much. It'll be okay for just hitting a bunch of notes, but if you want to hold something down and you want it to like scan through, you're not going to get that effect just because I don't think Ableton designed it this way. They're like, hey, let's just put more resources into Wavetable. So what I wanted is listen to when, it's weird. Okay, so listen to when I play. I'm gonna turn this macro here, and I'm gonna hit notes, and it's gonna change. You can hear it, right? But if I hold down a note and change, it won't do it. It might sound like it's moving because I put that modulation on the sound when I adjusted the thing, but it's not actually scanning through this thing. So when I turn this and play, it does it. But when I hold down one note, it's not. I want it to like change and morph while I hold it down. And you might say, dude, but I hear the changing in the movement. And that probably just means that the movement I put on over here was enough. Remember when I tuned these guys? when I tune this guy a little bit in by changing that there. So yeah, when I change this thing, it's not happening. But if I were to click, so what does that do? Well, if you're primarily like playing a bunch of notes, it would mean like each time you hit a new note, so let's click the LFO and map it to channel selector, see how it's moving. I'm just hitting notes. You're getting like a different harmonic each time, and I'm actually going to move it to random because I want it to just jump around. Depth means like how it'll go from 0 to 128 because we're up all the way up here, but I'm going to move this rate up, and now look how it's choosing. So it's always a G, so the note will always sound the same, or whatever note I'm playing, but it'll give me a different harmonic quality. And so that's how you would do basically wavetable in a sampler, and with those Adventure Kid waveforms where he actually like normalizes the volume and puts them all in key so you don't have to tune them. He does that for you. And by the way, a lot of people, so check that out. So that's a pretty interesting thing that you can do. Again, we can keep stacking more of these here, but I'm not really enjoying that much. And this LFO is tripping me out right now. It's too intense. Because, yeah, we're able to do that with wavetable. Now, I think it's pretty darn interesting, these forms. Maybe you can just view them as like different wavetables. So for instance, right now, we're in wavetable. But remember I told you that we could come into user? Well, why don't we drop those same damn wavetables in here and see if it works? Answer, it does. So check it out. So remember this guy? That's him. But I thought the way to make it, we have to be able to scan through this, but why don't we have the waves? See, right now I'm not hearing the modulation. And I thought, oh, well, okay, well, wavetable wasn't able to do it. But then I thought, what is this raw? Now watch what happens, folks. It did it. So basically what it did is when you click raw, which I think is designed for when you have these like single cycle waveforms in here. That sounds nice. To be honest, apparently this guy's like a genius. So look at how this is subtly changing this yellow line. It's like what it did is it created, I don't know if this was the original line, or maybe they just flipped it. But then they take, so basically what wavetable actually does do, now that you kind of get it all, it takes one of these complex waveforms, like one of these Adventure Kid single cycle waveforms, and it basically like takes a bunch of pictures of it at like different states. Like look at this right up here. So right up here, there's like this flat part, and then there's like this little thing. And then if you look all the way down here, it's like they inverted it, and then they took like cross-dimensional samples as you move up. That's like a mixture of both, but nevertheless, every place you hear it is like different. So now you might say, well, okay, so now because it can do that, there's really no reason to even play with sampler. You're wrong. Actually, I shouldn't say you're wrong. That's not like a cool teacher thing to say. It just allows you to like, I mean, well, I guess you kind of don't need to. I was like, well, you can like use the sampler stuff, but like with wavetable, you got the frequency, you got the filter. In fact, you even have two filters. You can come down here and get all that going on. And you still have FM because you can come into here and you can like, oh, okay, let's take this LFO and let's put it on this warp function very slowly. Where is our LFO? Yeah. And of course, fold. if it's too bright, you can always just... If we turn off the second filter, I don't even want to see this. Second filter, go to envelope 2. Take this sustain of envelope 2, take it all the way down, go into matrix, filter, click this frequency, and then push it here. Lower the frequency. And isn't that like such a cool, unique sound? So we basically put our own wavetable inside of wavetable, and we could always come over here to this. Like, that sounds amazing. And all we did was just change the thing. Let's see if we go back to still have our thing. And we aren't even scaling through. So like, we'll go to oscillator 1 position, go to LFO 1. Doesn't seem like it's moving it like this. I don't know why it's not doing that. I think it's because we just have so much modulations on. We're like stretching it to its max or something. Oh, it's because this envelope takes it all the way down, and I guess we can't hear it. In any event, guys, just wanted to talk about that to sort of show you... wow, this is just so fun. I'm going to close this spectrum here. And hell, you could inactivate both. I'm going to close this panel. Well, they're not in key, so you would just like change it or whatever. So that's it. Boy, I wasn't even looking at the camera. I was just glued into this. I thought that was really cool. Again, it's called Adventure Kid Waveforms. You'll find the link. Like, this stuff from when I heard the first person telling me about it, like on a YouTube tutorial, going over this sort of thing. He was like, yeah, this stuff is like legend. Like, this guy's an absolute legend. How he even made all this stuff, it's just a service to humanity. It's for free. I'm not going to put a link because just the kind of the guy I am, I'm like really weirded out about clicking any links. Like, I don't even want to click like Google Drive links, because you can click one thing and you have like a virus. So I don't want to put a link just in case it's not the right link, you know? So if you type Adventure Kid Waveforms, you're going to find it very easily. And to be honest, like, if you have Wavetable, like, congratulations, you have like 500 wavetables. You don't need this. But if you were curious, you will find it. Okay, I felt something on my arm. I'm like, what the hell? You're like hoping it's not some weird-ass bug or something. Anyways, guys, this was damn good. I hope you can just see how amazing this stuff is. Wavetable's amazing. And if anything, you learn sampler a lot better. And peace. Have a great one. I think my dog's aware it's time to eat, so maybe he's going to, although he always wants to eat, he'll probably do his spinny tricks. So you guys take care and enjoy yourselves. Puggy, we're gonna show everyone Wild and Crazy Puggy.
Hello and welcome.
For some people that probably only tuned in to see if that hungry pug was gonna be back. Well, you just missed a couple of turnarounds, folks.
Okie dokie, where are we at?
Chonky, what do you want to tell everybody? Are you telling them that it's time for Kiwi? Is it time for the Kiwi? Wow, was that 2? Is that 2? Nice, 720 pugs. Okay, he did the yawn. That was the next step. Okay, Joey, you ready for the Kiwi? Oh boy, Joey, you sit. Joey, sit. High five. Sit, Chunky, sit. High five. Good boy, Chunky.